Hello, hello. It is I.
And me.
And
What are you doing? Am I
it
not?
is you and it is I. It is Scotty and
What
Sarah.
am I, chopped liver?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not chopped liver. Meatloaf.
Uh-huh.
And not this. I can do anything for love.
I still want to know what it was that he won't do.
He won't tell you.
What are we talking about?
He
Okay.
won't tell you. He won't tell you what it is. All right, so welcome back. This is actually episode 3. We did the introduction. We had episode 1 and 2, and this is episode 3 of Don't Screw Up Your Relationship with Scotty and Sarah, as we've well established. And also, we are not relationship experts, and we have, though, both screwed up relationships, and we have been screwed over in relationships. So let me stop right here in the very introduction and say thank you very much for the feedback, as we have been seeing your views on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And those of you that have shared them, we thank you. Those that have asked that they be made shareable, they should all be shareable now. And I appreciate you very much. Those that tune in and catch all the shorts and the messages, I appreciate you being a part of the virtual world and the virtual congregation, and I appreciate your support very, very much. So tonight, what we have decided to do is we're actually, for the next few episodes, however many that is, we are going to talk specifically about
trauma brain.
Trauma brain.
And we don't mean traumatic brain injury.
Right. That doesn't mean one too many shots to the head.
Right, exactly.
Which I think Muhammad Ali had.
Yes.
In his life. But experiencing trauma in a relationship and reacting to that, and how trauma brain molds you, really. And not only that, it also it affects how you react in the moment, and also down the road and in the future. People think that a lot of times their reactions are learned reactions, which is true. And a lot of times we learn those reactions and then we stick to those reactions, and that becomes a part of us. But whatever is learned can be unlearned. And I also had a professor in college, that said, when I was working on my master's degree, that said, you can not only unlearn a behavior, but you can learn another behavior to counter that behavior. It's sort of in the idea of if you have a negative thought,
right?
You know, I'm sick, I could die. And then you counter it with but you know what? Maybe it's just a cold.
Right.
You know? So that type of thing.
Maybe I shouldn't Google my symptoms next time.
Oh, that's true. That is very true. Have you ever known anybody that when they take medication, they read the side effects?
Oh, yeah.
So that they make sure they have every one of them?
Every single one of them.
Right.
Every single one.
That's right. And if that's the way you are, we're not talking about you. We're talking about somebody else.
Somebody else.
Yes. So let's talk about
a friend of a friend.
A friend. a Noah guy. Okay. Let's talk about what trauma brain is. So what are some what is your, somebody comes to you and says, Sarah, what is trauma brain? What is your personal definition of it?
My personal definition, and not being a medical doctor of any sort.
But I do play one on TV.
Right, I do play one on TV. I act smart. No, for me personally, when you really start to recognize the signs of trauma brain is having a reaction to something that you know, okay, well, they didn't mean it that way as it pertains to your relationship. If you're trying to get into a new relationship, or you are in a new relationship having just gotten out of a taxing, is the best word I can use, before, and you get into a new one and you find yourself, I'm really happy and this person is really great and I'm so excited. And then all of a sudden, that other person will say something and immediately you snap, and you're sad, you're angry, you're crying, you're yelling, and you really don't know why until you stop and take a breath and realize trauma brain.
Mm.
Trauma brain is now kicking in. Now it's a learned response, fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
Some people's reaction is to immediately flee. Maybe they won't scream and yell. Maybe they will just completely shut down, literally hide. And some people's response is acting out, yelling, screaming, shouting, just completely out of character for them because that's a fight mode. Now they're immediately transported to that previously bad relationship where it was fight or flight all the time. And I know everybody uses this word, but you've been triggered.
Yeah. And it's really sad that triggered has been used so much because it loses its.
It does.
It loses its power because when people, people say I'm triggered. Everybody's triggered.
Everybody's triggered.
And then it's almost like you diminish the fact that you can actually be triggered.
Right. You can actually be triggered.
Right. Now, something about trauma brain, and since we won't get everything tonight.
Right.
But just over the next few episodes, since we have time, and we can talk about this as long as we want to. But the thing about trauma brain is, now you brought up just in your response here how you can take trauma brain from one relationship into another relationship.
Absolutely.
But trauma brain can also be if you as a child were treated a certain way by your parents, and then you go into a relationship and your partner is now says something like, oh, my dad said that.
Right.
Or act this way my mom acted. And so then you start reacting towards them the same way you reacted towards your parents.
Right.
So trauma brain can really come out of not just a relationship to a relationship, though that we're talking about don't screw up your relationship, but it can come from other instances.
Right. Right.
I think about the girl that is told by her father, you're a failure, you'll never be able to do anything. Because maybe he loves his son more than he did his daughter, and so she can't do anything right. Then she ends up meeting somebody and they date or maybe become married, and then she does something and he makes a statement and goes, well, that was dumb. And then she's right back where she was with her with her dad. And so now she's starting to buy into what was told her.
Right.
You're not worth anything. You're not any good. You're not, you're never going to be anything. And I don't know the number. I don't know. And maybe it's something to research and look up. But how many people do you think suffer from some type of trauma brain?
Oh, I think it would be easier to count the people that don't
suffer with trauma brain.
Right, than that do. But
so what do you think is like a major, in your opinion, and for the good people that are viewing, what do you think is one of the major things that if you see this, you probably have trauma brain?
think it's just a complete lack of outside character. You just completely are reacting without really thinking. It's an automatic response. Like it's either to yell or to hide.
Mm-hmm.
So or to be violent. Some people are violent because they honestly feel like they don't have any way out. They honestly feel trapped. And I feel like in every normal day, situations where it's just you and your friends, or you're going about your life or whatever, and you don't normally act that way. That's the trigger for me, is like you don't normally act that way. So what was it all of a sudden that caused this huge shift in how you normally act to how you're acting right now?
Okay. Do you think that people who have trauma brain, do you think that they know that that's trauma brain, or do you believe that they've lived with it for so long they just think, well, this is just how you're supposed to do it?
I think it's a little of both. I think some people who have done the work to recognize that this is trauma brain, I need to stop and think about what's happening right now. And I'm not meaning in like a life or death situation. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a life or death, fight or flight, literally, situation. That's not what I mean. I mean, you are in your head trying to figure out what reaction you should actually have. Is this a genuine reaction, or is this I had to react this way in the past because I had no other choice?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of a self-preservation kind of a deal.
Yeah, because I wonder, as I was just asking that question about do they recognize it, it's like a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
There's a crazy person. Now, let me just be clear. I'm not saying if you have trauma brain, you're crazy, because we all have it.
Right.
To some degree.
Right.
I have trauma brain. She has trauma brain. You have trauma brain. Wouldn't you like to be a trauma brain too? You probably are. But it's like a crazy person. You ask them, "Are you crazy?" and they're going to tell you no.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Manson was asked by Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo said, "Charlie, do you think you're crazy?" And he was like, "No, man. I'm more sane than all of us. You're the crazy one."
Mm.
So trauma brain is something that affects us. I don't know whether a person would know that they have it or not, but you gave us a very good indicator that if you're acting outside of your norm and you're triggered by something, or you're being your normal self, and then boom, something happens and now you're outside your norm, then there's something in the recesses of your mind that happened to you that now is surfacing again.
And subconsciously, you know that that's not the right response. There is some part of you that is trying to break through that initial trained, triggered response that says this is not appropriate. This is not a proportional response to whatever this person said or maybe did. This is not a proportional response. You are going overboard and you can't seem to really stop yourself.
Yeah, that's important. That's very, very important. So let's dig into this, right? So when you tune in, whatever platform that you're on, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell. I can say that now because I have an award back here. It's right there. I have an award from YouTube.
And here, let me duck out of the way.
Yeah, but, and so I say, you got an award. Do you have an award from YouTube? I do. And so I'm not proud of it at all. But like, subscribe, hit the bell. If you're on Facebook and Instagram, I think I have everything set up now where you can share, like, so you can comment and tell us all about it. But we're going to continue on with Trauma Brain in the next episodes. And I will cheers you out. I have the Buc-ee's. If you don't know about Buc-ee's, Buc-ee's is life. Okay, so we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.